the thing is, it's everywhere. And yes, we're sort of talking about how we might be able to use it. And we have some lovely examples from Jane. And I can sort of say that in the plural, can't I? And but it is everywhere. And I think sometimes when we feel we're perhaps potentially being a little scared of it, we need to perhaps remember how much of it's already very embedded in everything that we're doing, and sort of try and say, well, just because we haven't quite embedded it maybe into our day-to-day practices yet, where it's already been brought to us by other people, we sort of, push through perhaps that pain barrier of our banking app or, car sensors and bits and bobs like that. Whenever we're doing, if you look at frequently asked questions on big websites now, most of the key answers that come through first when it's asking you, do you want to answer them, is coming up from AI generation, because it's used machine learning to look at, what are the most frequently asked questions and what's the correct answer, and it's been trained to be able to do that. And so it's really sort of around us. And I suppose it's just getting to see how it can help in the clerking. And it's got a long sort of history of development. And AI, I'm sure you know, comes from first crowned in 1955 by John McCarthy, a professor who defined that term. And Alan Turing also leapt in and said, it'll be real artificial intelligence when it can mimic human reactions. And so that's been a striving. So we've had things like chess battles and everything else that you're probably aware of. And interestingly, in 2014, Reading University reckoned they'd actually cracked it with a simulation of a 13-year-old boy. Although if you read the rhetoric on that, there's other universities like the Met over in America and people who are saying, no, that's not really it. That really wasn't it. Don't get excited. That was like a 5-minute pre-set talk. But what's really got us all going is that sort of 2 years ago, and it's so recent. I think that's the other reason why we sit here and go, oh, I'm a little bit worried about it and I'm a bit anxious about it, or it scares me. It's actually just the sheer speed that it's gone from being sort of in that background thing, sort of something that made a few noteworthy things when it beat Jeopardy or beat somebody at chess, to being all over the place. And that's literally just the power of all those, sort of the size of the chips, the speed of the sort of processors, but also the fact that we have been stuffing data onto the internet for about the last 20 years. And so there was just so much more digital information that these big systems could lap up and start playing with. And the OpenAI uses a huge amount of the Microsoft database. It's a very, very big collaboration between those two organizations to get there with all of this. And so, that's, I think it's this huge large language model processing that has sort of brought it to where we are. So we need to remember that AI is this sort of field of many different tools, some of which we're probably using all the time. Even natural language processing is essentially what's running quite a lot of the search that we do all the time. And all those, and sort of like say, if you have Netflix or you use Amazon or any of these, where it makes suggestions to you, that automation that's coming through, where it's assessing what you've purchased before and what people like you have purchased, that's all being driven by that. And so it's really just sort of saying, right, okay, it may be that we haven't got the right tools for clerks yet. So, that may be an opportunity for somebody. But what we're sort of going to look at this morning really is the ones that are there for us to play with at this very early stage. And it is early stages, although I think when we say early stages, we now don't say 5 years till the next stage. I think probably about 18 months. So the speed of growth is so rapid. So we've all seen, probably all seen some presentations on ChatGPT, but I thought I'd just start there. And we're going to whiz over to stop sharing on this and whiz to have a look. So ChatGPT comes out of
you are still sharing your presentation slides.
Yeah, I'm just moving to share the computer screen. So we have to sort of nip between the two. There we go. So ChatGPT has a lovely little welcome screen like this. And one of the things is it's really great. It has lots of instructions and lots of information. But so if you've not played with it, do spend some time looking at what it advises that you do and how to interface with it. And also look at how it works or how it says it works. I mean, I don't think any of it, I'm certainly not in a position to have any idea really how it works, you know, I mean, apart from what they tell us, because I don't, you know, I'm not a programmer in that way. But it's a very easy, simple interface, and all you do have to register. And so you sort of give away your, you know, date of birth and bits and bobs like that, email address, and then get verified, and then you're in. And it's very straightforward then, simply to get into the main section. That's it. I mean, you know, it then says, what would you like me to do for you? So in terms of what it can do, we heard from Jane about it helping to write. And so I was going to do a quick help to write so that we can see the type of thing we might do. So we've recently started discussing about a new playground, because our Viking swing has been condemned, and therefore I'm going to sort of write, please, can you help me write a letter to residents about a new consultation, because we want their input on it. And so, and I know we can all do this ourselves. It's really just a question of whether it can help you get structured, get started, make you think of things you might have forgotten. And there you can see, literally, it's come up with a basic draft. I'm not going to stick it in straight like that, mainly because I've got different things I need to fill in. But it's basically given a really nice structure. But I might say, oh, it's a bit long, you know, it's just an email. People don't have the time. And I can simply write a clue at the bottom here, shorten it. You know, it doesn't, we don't have to, and it remembers what it had before. You see, you don't have to rewrite the prompt. We're just literally in there, and there we go. Something much more succinct. I may still feel that saying we're excited is just a bit over the top for our parish council. We are excited, but, you know, really, do we want that in there? So I'm going to say, you know, please make it more formal. Okay. And so it thinks about that. And we turn around and we lose the bit about excitement, and we still have all the other parts to it. So I could give it the dates and everything. It could start putting that in. And I might think, oh, it might be quite nice to have a bit of a picture. So can you add some pictures? So I don't really like that picture particularly, but I could then start playing it through, and I would probably actually have the equipment that I might want, or I might have our own part. We all know that. So we've got this idea of what we can do. And if I keep on going on the free plan, I will end up with a message that says you have exceeded your limit. All right, so now the other one that I was trying on this was actually to see if we could do some research, because we had a question from a resident who said, why didn't I get notified about the fact that my neighbour was doing some planning? So I said, I had in my head, there'll be people around this room nodding, know the answer to this already. And from my councillor part, I thought, sure they don't. So do Dorset Council send neighbours, that's all typing out all wrong. This is the problem with doing live. Neighbours, planning application notifications. I might change the way I say that. The other thing is, I often put in, please, can you tell me? And the reason I do that is because one day I think these things are going to be running the world, and at least they'll think I'm polite. So do so, still send out, and I've got send planning application notifications to neighbours. Okay, so let's have a look what it says. So, okay, so it's saying yes. All right. Now, anyone who knows Dorset Council, normal good old Google, is that they no longer send, and therefore we can see that it's actually giving us sort of the wrong information. It does advise, though. It does say go and have a look, but it just gives us that sort of indication of needing to you know, you're still going to need your wits, you're still going to need your research, you're still going to need to look in other places. Let's have a look at another one. Oh, Gemini. So Gemini is the Google version, and it's much later to the party, but it's growing really fast because it has obviously an immense knowledge base within its search bank, and it's using that as one of its key training areas as well. So it's taking in massive amounts of information and growing really, really fast. So here we are, and I can ask it the same thing. So can it write me a nice note? And you'll see that essentially we get something fairly similar, but, you know, maybe it's a little bit different. So it's giving me some more ideas. Oh, online surveys, in-person consultations, email submission. So it's giving me fuller answers. That's just how it was on the day. And I would say that one of the things is use a number of them if you're looking to play around, because I think they are all fairly in their infancy, and they get to know you, get to find the voice that you like interacting with. And as it gets to know more about you, it retains what you're saying, it builds up a knowledge and a history of you, and it can work on that. So if I put in that it's, you know, we're a parish council, it will slightly change. And bring those through. And so it's just sort of, you know, putting in a few bits and bobs about that. So gradually it would learn. And if I'd uploaded, like say, our policies or our basic where we are and data like that, then it can use those as well. So we're sort of pulling in more information there. I can ask it the same questions I asked it about the council, and I'm afraid it comes up with the same answer. Actually, it will still say yes as well. And we can move through. So with that one gives us sort of quite a nice alternative. The other thing you're going to start seeing is that when you go into normal Google, and that comes straight up, obviously with the answer that we get through search. So that's nice and up to date. But you'll see up here, you're starting to get the AI overview, and that's where Gemini is integrating with search. So it's sort of moving that information into there, but let's try it in here. So that one is, because it's taking information from search, it's a little bit more accurate on that side, we might say. So the Microsoft offering is called Copilot, and Copilot essentially works very strongly with OpenAI. So there's a very close relationship there. And the latest version of the ChatGPT and Copilot 4 are basically all have been pulled from a huge amount of the Microsoft database, their huge database. They've been working very collaboratively on that. And so you can see I put the same search term into there. They came up with their letter. I asked them to shorten it. That's the same thing. I've asked them to make it more formal. And so it takes out the sort of other lines. And I've asked it to add pictures. And it will tell you if you can or can't at this point do something like that. So it's basically making suggestions to me about what I can do. They do have the ability to generate posters, but this is sort of talking about an email, and it's sort of saying, I can't put them directly into your email. Okay. So, but it's giving me ideas of how to do it. And I also asked it, sort of, we're going on there through, and asked it to be a parish council. And again, it added the parish council. So, you know, very similar as we've seen from the others. So I would just play across the different systems and see, you know, how you feel. And last one I was going to look at is, if I remember which window I've set it up in. It's Claude. And John mentioned Claude. Claude's slightly different because Claude is made by an independent company called Anthropic. So Anthropic are sort of trying to stand apart and say that they want to view a future where AI tech is developed with careful consideration for ethical, societal, and safety implications. So that sort of is, they're sort of giving themselves a sort of different, they believe that makes them significantly different. So let's ask us the same thing for our draft. And it tells me a lot more when I'm doing this. So it's asking questions. So it's quite intuitive in that way. So it's really sort of asking me about what we might want. So it's starting to generate a response down the side. Again, it's putting in lots of things for me to fill in. It's asking me more things that it would like to know. So it's written in quite a different way. It's not saying, here's a suggestion, now think of a way to change it. It's actually saying, how might you like to change this? And really giving me lots of ideas. So it is really popular with the advertising, the copywriting, the coders, the social medias. And that's where this has been very successful. It's been very much taken up in that sort of creative industries. Okay. So the other thing obviously that was the sort of the main places where we can use this sort of generative AI. But as I said, I use a lot of natural language programming, processing, and we've seen how it's within the search. We've seen how search is now coming up with the AI overview as well, but search runs on that basis. I use it to help filter my emails. I'm sure you use spell checker, grammar checker in Word, and some of you may use additional grammar things. So two things I was going to show you is Otter, which Jane talked about at first, which helps me with my language processing, and then Grammarly. So this is Otter, and I've had it running in the background whilst we're actually been talking. I will delete it afterwards, and we can then, you can see, we pick things up, and it keeps what we've doing, it would give us a transcript of what we are saying. It can, as we talked about, give me my outline of, let's see if it can't process it at the moment because that one's running live. So let's go back to here, which is the one I wanted to show you. So I use this it's got a nice little toolbar. I'm going to turn that off now, in meetings. So I can actually go into my meeting and I can actually have a look at the transcript of my meeting. So I've now got a full transcript of my council meeting. It's asking me to upgrade. Yes, I know I've reached my 30 minutes. So at the moment, my council won't pay for me to actually have this on a paid version. So I use the free. And I suppose if I can prove its worth, they might do. But, I get by very well with the free version, apart from every now and then getting little things like that. So
I've got a question. Are you using this to transcribe a meeting that you've had on Zoom or Teams, or is this actually a physical where you got a
physical meeting?
Cool.
Yeah. This is my actual physical meeting.
And you're recording on your phone?
I do it on my phone. Yes. Yes. Great. Yes. Yeah. Simply set it going and pop it on the desk. So there were a couple of things that I'd pulled up, but I got them on a slide. But what's somewhere, I'm not going to be able to find it now, I know, because it's you never can when you're doing it like this, because there's so many things to look at. Oh, here we've got one of them. So we definitely didn't have anything about parachutes. Let's just turn that off. So I can hear what was being said, but it still sounds like parachutes, but it's actually parishioners. And so you can get some things that can make you giggle. Somewhere else it talks about orchestras, and the people who endorse it will know if I could find it, but there's a lovely quote somewhere that says that we were taking the steamers to Newton. And I think they meant Sturminster Newton, but it says, yeah, it's written down as steamers to Newton, which is quite fun. So it's not there to replace me. It summarizes and it picks it up on repetition, keywords, emphasis, and it also can give me my action list. It can give me an outline that runs through the main things that were talked about, and I can use that. It's really good for allowing me to concentrate on the meeting, contribute to the meeting, be able to actually keep a track of everything that's going on, use, you know, when I need to dig things out, pass things around, get things signed or anything else. I can make my notes of the key things against the agenda, you know, all my actions. But if there's something that I want the detail of, so when the local district councillor comes in and talks, I've got her report anyway. If there's anything she speaks about or emphasizes, and I wanted to just capture, and I wrote, make sure I'm getting what she said correctly, then I can go back to my transcript. And even if it's got parachutes and orchestras, I can listen to it and I can work out sort of what she was saying and make sure I have got the gist right. So as a backup, I love it. I like that security of being not having to feel that I've got to go and train as a Hansard stenographer or get, you know, mad at doing shorthand. Really find that very, very useful. Just on the phone, comes up on here, which means I can use it. And I would say, great for summarizing, great for recording and transcripting, gives me an outline, which helps me remember, as I've said. But no, it's not going to write the minutes because it can't do that. It can't get to the point of what we need.
Yeah, the Otter works very well also if you are in a Zoom meeting. Because then the important thing is it knows the names of the speakers, because I mean, Zoom now natively supports AI summaries and transcriptions anyway. I guess how you could probably get it to work better it'd be very annoying, but how to get it to work better in physical meetings is each speaker should state their name before, you know, this is John Fagan, or as a meeting facilitator, you could repeat it. So you're just making sure that the AI is documenting it. You could, okay, thank you for that, Beverly Barker. So you said, and then if you're getting that structured content, that structured sort of language in, AI will then be able to transcribe and summarize it better. If you actually mention the meeting agenda points 4.2.1, then if you fed in the transcription of the meeting and your actual agenda, it should be able to create the minutes. A bit more work, but if you structure the meeting knowing that AI is transcribing it and you're giving AI the instruction, the signals, so it can match them up, and then you can also tell AI this is our format for our minutes. Anyway, play around with an experiment with it. Create a fake meeting with two people with a simple agenda and start talking on Otter AI and say, right, meeting agenda item 1.1, installation of a new bin, you know, and just see, and then have some conversation and go, right, action approved, you know, and then just play around with it, you know, all these things. Cool. Excellent. So thank you very much. That's a whirlwind tour of different AI tools. We had ChatGPT by OpenAI. We had Gemini by Google. We also showed the Gemini being used in standard Google results, so you don't have to go through all the links and it summarizes all those links. We had Copilot, which is integrated into Microsoft, which is also powered by OpenAI. We had Claude by Anthropic, and they're like their own independent company.